Hello, Factorio people. Welcome back to Factorio Overexplained. Uh, just as I was booting up the game, advanced material processing finished. So we can make steel furnaces. And let me just get rid of all these exclamation marks that we're not going to need. We need steel. Steel is the bottleneck. So let's talk about how to make steel. But before I do, let me at least try and remember to say that if you wanna, you can like and subscribe and comment and all of the other interactions that YouTube have built into their interface. Please do all of them. Right, let's go. Steel needs 5 iron plates in 16 seconds, and you can make 1 iron plate in 3.2 seconds. Now, I don't need to tell you, stats fans, but 3.2 times 5 is 520, carry the 1, 5, 3, 15, add the 1, 16 seconds exactly. Regardless of the crafting speed of your furnaces, one furnace making iron plates can supply one furnace then making the steel plates. That's great. The problem is, though, is that obviously your belts are then a fifth compressed. A full belt of iron, a full yellow belt of iron, 15 items per second, oops, will then turn into a belt that is only 3 items per second. Now, I'm going to open up FNEI here, which is a mod to show you that you can use to just search items and what they go into and how they're made. And I'm going to just press steel here and go into steel plates. It shows you the recipe on one side, but if you right click it, it shows you everything it goes into. Now this could be a bit overwhelming to start with, but I'm mostly just doing this to show you that we need big electric poles for sure, medium electric poles for sure. Steel furnaces will be kind of nice, I suppose. I don't need any of this. Assembly machines too, for sure. And then moving on into the future, personal batteries and the stuff to make cars and trains, cargo wagons, etc. Oh, and chemical plants to do oil processing. We need steel. We do need an amount of steel. My main worry is that if we start tapping this to 61,000 iron ore too heavily, it's going to run out. So I really think that we should focus on doing researches to get us towards trains as quickly as possible, which thankfully is only only researching engines and then railway. And then we can maybe start bringing iron ore in to the base, slightly higher quantities for when our starter patch runs out. So let's just click start researching engines. While we do steel, I'm going to put it here. Now let me just do my Control C and do the start of this, so that I at least know roughly where it can go. There and there. Get the coal reattached as soon as possible, just because we are going to be using stuff. And the electricity as well. So what do we do about getting iron ore in a sensible way? We have lanes of stuff here. We have 4 lanes coming out, but not really full or compressed lanes in the slightest. What we could really do with is taking 4 lanes in and making sure that those 4 lanes are balanced into 3 lanes out. Now, of course, if we do something like this, that isn't really going to work, because let's press R for red. These 2 lanes are being compressed by this splitter into this one, and then these 2 lanes are now half of everything is going this way, half of everything is going this way, but then half of this, so a quarter is going into here, and only half of these two belts are going this way. It's kind of a mess. It doesn't really guarantee iron going equally where we need it, and we definitely need steel. Do we need steel at the expense of making iron? I don't know. I mean, we could go really heavy here on this and say that one of these electric mining drills is going to make one iron ore every 2 seconds, because they have a mining speed of 0.5 a second. Then we can do our control copy trick that we learnt before to count these, except we can't count this one because the light's gone red, which means it's totally out. Tidy up these belts and these power poles while I'm here. Let's try and get a rough count of exactly how much iron ore we are supplying to the base. That looks a bit more accurate in terms of miners that have iron. Why is this one not getting tapped? That would have gone there, but it's only 316. Let's not count it. 55, so that is 55 making one every 2 seconds. That's only like 25, 27 and a bit a second. Let's then, what else do we need to research? Trains. So we've done engines which are connected to trains, but trains are still red. So that means if we click trains, we can see all of the prerequisites for trains. We've actually forgotten to do logistics too. So you can do things. You can look at the tech tree either way. You can see what that technology unlocks, which is obviously everything it's connected to, but trains have 2 prerequisites, and that is in fact engines and logistics too, so let's get that done as well. So this isn't very much at all, basically. It's not even enough for both of these belts to be full at the same time. But it is a lot of iron. So we could either do it like this, and try and take some of this iron away, and make steel out of it. The other option is to take iron off of the bus and make that into steel. Neither are particularly, at this stage in the game, neither are particularly foolproof. If I waited and took the iron off of the belt down here, so like maybe just did a small row of smelting here for steel, that would be the best thing to do, because then at least we know everything up here is getting fed with the iron it needs and only excess iron is coming here. But we could do that in the same way up here by only taking off iron ore that is excess by using the priority of a splitter, and I think that's the way I'm going to do it. Is I'm going to let all of this belt go into here, but I'm going to split this belt into 2, and I'm going to click the splitter here. And splitters have input and output priority. So input priority obviously is in this scenario when you want the input of, if you said input priority, I think it would be this is left and right in this scenario. It must be, because it's going this way. So if I were facing it, this would be the left and this would be the right. If I said input priority left, this belt would back up until this belt was empty. If I said output priority left, it would still take evenly from these 2 belts, but it would just output constantly on the left until this was backed up, and then it would go this way. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do output priority on the right, and we can see here this arrow is telling us that that's the output priority. If we could do input priority left, obviously, because there is only one input priority. And then you can see the arrow is on the closer side of the splitter, but we don't do this for now. We don't need it. How much steel do we want? Is a whole belt overkill? I don't think it is, you know. We need it. We need a lot of it. So I'm going to, in fact, make another whole belt of iron. And it won't be enough, of course. It's never going to be enough. But the furnaces have a backlog. Oh, I'm out. I'm actually out. I've got some stone. Although I might need to think about upgrading this at some point. That was possibly too much. Stone furnaces are useless after a certain point. You don't need a stone furnace to make a steel furnace. In the same way that you don't need a burner mining drill to make an electric mining drill. They are things that eventually you just have to throw away. This is kind of overkill, isn't it? Because then I need exactly that many furnaces again down here to make the steel. So let's go halvesies on it, shall we? How many is half? A whole column is 48, if I remember my math correctly. So if we do counting again to 24, so that's there, wasn't it? These ones, yeah. So then from here, we can stop it. And I will most likely, I'll have to put these down because of the design that I use to make steel, but I'm going to get rid of it just to show you a bit more cleanly. So this is our usual smelting column build that we went through in a previous episode. So let me just quickly put this together for you. And while I'm doing this, I can talk about how I think things are going. I'm enjoying doing this series, to be honest with you. I feel like it's very useful. I have to... Oh, how am I out of inserters? And I'm out of iron gear wheels as well. I'm not making iron gear wheels by hand. Although I probably will have to, because I don't think I have anywhere now that... Oh, I've got this, haven't I? Yes, of course. I should have done the same thing here with this filter inserter that I did just for yellow inserters. So also give me a chest with... what are the stack size of these? It's 100, isn't it? Stack size 50. Okay, give me 200 of these at any one time. That'll do for now. 75 for now is fine. Yeah, I'm still seeing a lot of posts on the subreddit of, oh, I just bought the game and I'm 6 hours in, rate my factory. I don't think there's much value in that. Rate my factory. Like, if it works for you, it works for you. And this series is not supposed to be telling people the best way to do things. It's merely a way to show how you do things. You can do them any way you want, of course. And I'm doing them in the way that I'm the most comfortable with, but it is still primarily, whoops, why I do them this way. Alright, so we've got our half a smelting column up. So now, what's this chest doing here? A wooden chest full of burner mining drills. Get it out of the way. So now we also need to power a row of furnaces, but the ingredients for steel are iron and obviously the fuel for the furnace anyway. So what we want to do is we want to kind of mimic this setup up here, but for the iron plates and the coal. So if we put a splitter here, that splits the iron ore into 2 paths. And then we can put a splitter like this and tell it to only output on one side the coal. And I'll do the left on this side for symmetry purposes. Now you may think, and you'd be forgiven for thinking like this, that as soon as one side backs up, it's gonna start going... And it doesn't. It's basically a very fancy filter inserter. You could build a purple filter inserter and put it, whoops, here, like this, and then say just pick up coal for me. You could do this, and then obviously side load onto each, and actually has to go. Obviously the belt needs to be here because this is how much space we've got. And the belt, this is outputting onto the left, the inserter's right hand side. Again, if you imagine that we're looking at the inserter this way, it's the inserter's right hand side, I believe, is how this works. So this obviously is not going to let us side load very well. We would have to either do this or move the filter inserter in such a position. So like, this obviously looks hideous. But does it look less hideous than this? Oh, and then we've got a problem there with... So the iron ore is still coming out of this side, so we have to be careful with how we put our belts here. I actually quite like this. I'm going to do it like this, just because I can. Oops, not mean to do that. I'll be interested to see if it actually can supply enough coal to the belt, and it probably can. Oh, I picked up the coal from my inventory and I put it in the blacklist and whitelist filter if you were curious as to what was going on there. But then this side it is correct already, so it looks a bit weird, doesn't it? It looks a bit squiffy, but it works. It works. When you get to electric furnaces and they don't need the coal, then you just build 2 electric furnaces next to each other. You just do this with it. So iron ore turns into plates, the inserter grabs them straight into the furnace, turns them into steel, and the steel outputs. But currently needs must. So another 24 of these. Whoops. Logistics 2 finished, so now we should see trains on our list of things that are possible to research, and they are. So let's go. Copy this. I don't need to copy it, it's just going to be painting by numbers otherwise. Oops. Try not to walk in where you're trying to build, because then you can't build. You'll notice that you don't have to set a recipe for this, which is why some designs for this don't work, because the inserters try to grab the iron. They try to just grab anything, basically, that can go in the furnace. So some of these designs don't work because the inserters are trying to grab... What on earth has happened here? Oh, I think I started in the wrong place. My power poles are all out of whack. That's better. That's better. They're at least slight. I mean, this doesn't line up with this row, so it is hideous from this point of view. But it's still as good as it can be, and there's also something weird going on up here. But it's fine. It's fine. 24 furnaces making steel. It's not even as fast as possible, is it? Because as I say, the iron ore is going to be focused on going to these 2 first. But it's fine. It's fine. I decided to do it on this side just so I could have a line here, like this. And I'll leave a 2 space gap as well, even though it doesn't seem strictly necessary. And we'll keep expanding this down, and this piece of water is extremely annoying. You can get landfill. Oh, I can get landfill quite quickly, in fact. Alright, that's going to be next on the list. Alright, cool. Steel. Some steel. Sorted. My inventory is full of junk because of all the stuff I picked up. Don't put the iron ore in those. Same with the coal. Just get rid of it. This is weird. but it works. And if it's weird and it works, then it's not weird, I suppose. It should be working exactly at ratio, but the reason it's stopped at the moment is because obviously these were filling up with ore for the whole time we were doing the build. So these are just full of iron ore. These are empty now. It was slowly empty, but then of course it will stop again once the belt of steel gets full. You can also see that it's not quite balanced because of which ones were finished first. Right, trains are done. Railway needs steel. Locomotives need steel, and engine units which need steel, and cargo wagons need steel. So everything else we've got. So we can, when push comes to shove, start bringing trains in. And that's very cool. And then I'm just going to quickly research some landfill because I need some landfill to cover this up. Right, I wish I could remember how long I've been recording for. I feel like this might be a short one if I stopped now. Let's very quickly try and build a mall for the basics, especially now that we can make large power poles. So between circuits, copper, iron and steel, we could make a whole bunch of very useful stuff. We could upgrade everything to red belts. I don't feel like that's particularly necessary. This is going to be the very last iteration of the starter base. Now obviously you don't want to destroy the base and rebuild it as many times as I have here, because I have probably done about 4 different inverted commas starter bases. This is going to be the absolute last iteration of the starter base, and if you play the game from scratch again, having watched this series, I would basically recommend that you do extremely crude builds, very quick as you need it to be to get to this point. The reason I didn't do that, of course, is because I wanted to explain everything I was doing. And by having to explain how belts and inserters work, I had to make certain builds in certain ways. So you want just a small starter base with lots of manual insertion up to the point that you can just basically go to this stage. You know, have a treasure chest that's being filled with iron gear wheels and electronic circuits. Don't put them on belts so that you can just build everything by hand, and then suddenly, boom, you do this. But as I say, this will be the last iteration of the starter base. There's landfill sorted, so let's go and get some stone and make some landfill. Landfill takes 20 stone, but it only takes half a second to craft by hand. Landfill is definitely something you need quite a lot of, and as such, I'm going to just take all of this. I mean, even this only makes 80. I'll just shift click it to make as many as I can. And I really should probably think about automating some stone bricks of some kind, but that is a fairly simple task. Right, let's leave science for now and quickly try and set up a very simple mall. Landfill is just a simple case of taking the landfill and placing it down on the water. You cannot undo it. This is now water that's gone. So do be a bit careful with this. You can landfill over a pump and the pump will continue to work. It just changes it to a water well pump. But if you then delete the pump, you can't put it back down. It changes the design of it ever so slightly as well, I'm pretty sure. No, maybe that's not true. It just removes this small graphic here of the pipes going into the water. So you can do that. But then obviously now if I ever deleted this, I would have to rebuild it somewhere else. But yeah, just be careful with that. You don't want to suddenly cover up the only water for miles. And then you have to end up pumping water in by trains for something that you need. water for, like oil processing, which is going to be good fun. So, as I was saying, steel, iron plates, copper and electric circuits makes quite a lot of what we need. So we could probably do with some assembly machines making different kinds of inserters for us, although I did just do this. But that's fine. Definitely electric poles, which are one of the few recipes that need iron sticks. Iron sticks are just a iron intermediate product in the same way that iron gear wheels are, but they're only needed for power poles, rails. The balloon lights are in the mod Afraid of the Dark, just so that the screen doesn't get too dark for you while you're watching, so again, you don't have to worry about that. Programmable speakers, which I very rarely, if ever, use. Refined concrete, which I very rarely, if ever, use. And train stops themselves need some iron sticks. So yeah, the iron sticks are a bit weird like that. I kind of maybe just don't need to be in the game. They could be something that, but whatever. Whatever. So the easiest way really to build a basic mall like this is to have combined belts like this. So if we have iron and steel here, copper and green circuits like this, just for example, then between yellow inserters and long-handed inserters we can just take whatever we need into assembly machines and output those into boxes like this, and then we've got the basics of them all. Some things will need intermediate products, so what I'll probably do is I'll probably build a couple of assembly machines to start with that are in fact taking iron from these and putting iron gear wheels on the back, and then I'll have another belt up here with iron gear wheels, just because iron gear wheels are quite needed for a lot of things. So let's get that started, and then once I feel like I've explained enough, I will do the rest of it off camera. So yeah, we'll start with a lane of iron up here. That is entirely dedicated to just making gear wheels, and two. Let's go with two. Again, this is this is all ugly builds, all right? It's spaghetti. It's always going to be spaghetti. I don't like this at all. That doesn't work. That works, all right. It's going to be ugly, okay? And I make no apology for that. So then, got gear wheel. Gear wheels will be very much needed. And then don't forget to just balance our outputs. So then we'll have a belt of iron and steel coming into here. So combining two belts is fairly simple depending on how much space you've left yourself. Which in this particular example is not much, is it? I've kind of made a bit of a hash of this. Alright, I'm going to merge them on the other side. It's probably going to be a bit neater to do that. Right, so I'll split the steel off here. I can just click and drag across. And I'll split the iron off here. Click and drag across, and then I can merge these two belts like this. And then I'll do the same with the green circuits and the copper. left one too few spaces there. I am rushing this, so I apologies that it's so hideous, and that's one too many spaces. What on earth am I doing? Why is that not enough? But this seems like it's too many. I don't know. It's hideous. I apologise. I apologise. But it works. Alright, it works. You can't say it doesn't work. So basically now we can just pick and choose anything we want. So let's start with, oh, I don't know. I want to say start with belts, even though we've got this up here, but it just makes more sense to make sure that we definitely always have belts and we're not just reliant on science to be overproduced. So let's start with our, and plus we don't have undergrounds and stuff like this. So let's start with belts. Belts are just a simple case of gear wheels and plates, and we'll output that into a chest. I'm going to start making steel chests, because steel chests are the highest tier of chest. Wooden, iron, and then steel, and they have 48 slots. Even though I'm not actually going to use all 48 slots, I'm going to limit basically every single one of these chests, but at least then once I demolish it I can use the steel chests. I don't have to worry about getting rid of iron chests. Start plonking some power down as well. Take another assembly machine and bung it here and start making underground belts. Now underground belts need transport belts, which is why I've done this, so I can take from here and then also some iron plates and put them in another chest here like this. So we want 1,000 belts on hand at any one time, 100 undergrounds, and then also splitters need transport belts as well. So in fact this is all wrong. How frustrating. Actually this is actually fine. It's the recipe that's wrong. This needs to be splitters, which is iron plates, electronic circuits and transport belts. How frustrating. Right, the belts need to be in the middle and feed both sides. But if they're doing that, then they don't need to go into a chest first, do they? They can do this. And then this can go into a chest here. Except this will need iron gear wheels as well, so we'll do it like this. Speedrun strats. No, of course not. Transport belts and undergrounds. Transport belts need gear wheels, plates. Undergrounds need plates, belts. Splitters need plates, circuits, belts. Right, okay, and then I can put these here like this. That's facing the wrong way. That doesn't have that. Okay, right, we got there in the end. I could probably get away with putting that there like that. That underground reaches, and then I've got space for the chest there like this. And this one can go there as well. It doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to look good. It just needs to be functional at this point, right? Once we get rid of this base, excuse me. Once we get rid of this base and we start building the big proper base that we're going to be expanding for, basically we're just going to be, yeah, making sure that every one of our builds will last us through to the end game and beyond. That needs to be nice. This just needs to work and just needs to be functional for long enough to get that sorted. Don't build too many splitters. Absolutely do not forget to limit these chests. It will be a total disaster if you do. If you wanted to go... No, I can't do that just yet. let me just quickly research this. And by quickly I mean we'll see how quickly this is. The circuit network. Now the circuit network can get extremely complicated very quickly, but it does have some very simple uses. Alright, while that's ticking up we'll get the next things done. Power poles, right, we definitely want power poles. We've got belts in as much as we need. Let's get some power poles sorted. Power poles need copper plates, steel plates, iron sticks, and they both need that in varying numbers, so the same principle applies here. We're going to have one of these making iron sticks in the middle. That will feed... I'm out of blue, guys. You'll notice that for this I am just using blue at any one time, because I'm also don't care about ratios at all. If this takes all of the gear wheels and something down here doesn't have any, it's fine. Once this is full, and this is full, then this will get the gear wheels that it needs. We just need the stuff. We don't need it exactly on time, we just need it at some point. So as long as it all gets built, eventually we're alright. So then this one, or just make medium and big. They both need steel and copper, so we need long-handed inserters on both sides. And somewhere to put them. So again, I'm going to do this up here, because nothing up here needs the gear wheels. Oops, that doesn't quite reach. I should probably put these chests on my hotbar because I'm going to be needing a lot of them. Should have put that on this side so that it can reach the power poles. Oh, and obviously you need iron plates as well. Hooray! Real power poles at long last. Give me 200 of those at any one point and 100 of those at any one point. Thank you. The circuit network is finished. Right. There's a whole bunch of stuff you can do with the circuit network, and it is extremely complicated at the higher end. Arithmetic combinators, decider combinators, like there's so much you can do with ands and ors and ifs and not ands and like all of the basic logic gate stuff. The simplest thing you can do, in my opinion, and it's something I do quite a lot, is to take some wires. Wires just send signals along them, and there are red and green wires just in case you need to send lots of signals of varying things. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to go into this in a lot more depth later, especially when we start building our bigger logistics based mall. Is you can basically take a wire from anything that's not an assembler at least and attach it to something else. So you could attach an inserter to a belt if you wanted the interface between these two things to be a bit more rigorous than just pick it up when there's something there. So for example, I could attach this wire to this chest. Now these two items are linked intrinsically, and the default is to just not do anything. So as soon as you do this, your inserter will stop working, and it's then disabled by control behavior. You can then go into your inserter, and you have the extra circuit connection option here on this side, which you don't have on a regular inserter. And you can set various parameters here. You can just click this back to none, and it's done, it's sorted. Or you can tell it to enable disable. We've got the set stack size option here, but we don't actually have any research for changing the stack size, but that box will come up for a regular inserter once we have researched inserter stack size stuff. Read hand contents we won't need right now. I'm not going to go into that. Basically what I'm going to just do is just show you the alternative to limiting a chest. The alternative to limiting a chest is to have your enabled condition of your inserter less than the number that you want to store. So for example, only work, the enabled condition of this inserter is when the signal from underground belts is less than 100. 100! Now these signals, it's a bit squiffy. Like, you can send a signal for any of these things as well, which you do more in the sort of programming aspect of it. But the signal of this chest is its contents. So the signal that's being sent to the inserter is 84, 86 underground. So the inserter will only work when that signal is being met, and the condition here is, of course, less than 100. This is useful for when you want to not have to worry about, you know, I mean, it's really not hugely important at this point, because you can still manually place things here. The point is that robots will not do this. Robots and arms won't put things into here. And it's also a bit nice. It's nice future-proofing where you can just copy this and paste it down onto something else, like this, and the copy and paste remembers these conditions. So rather than limiting this chest, we can just do this. Which does mean, as long as you remember to copy and paste everything, as long as you just copy and paste your boxes down, you never accidentally forget to do this stage. You do have to then set it, but if you forget to set the condition, then all that happens is you don't waste anything. You don't make anything at all. Except that's not true, because the enabled condition is belts are less than 100, and obviously belts are always going to be less than 100. So it's best to copy and paste like a blank one. So just have one here at the beginning that just has an enabled condition of. You could even just leave it as anything less than 100, and that would work. Pretty sure. I've massively overcomplicated this, and I'm sorry. I'm just showing you the basics of the circuit network, just to, you know, get something going. But the problem with this is, obviously, I limited this chest, and that is also the copy and paste for that also works. I did paste. I copied the wrong thing. Sorry. Copy, paste. There we go. You can copy and paste the limited parts of the chest as well. So I said I wanted 200 of these and not 100. I guess this is also useful if you don't know the stack sizes, or if you haven't turned on the debug for show debug info in tooltips. Like, we could turn this off now. We don't need to know the stack size of anything, because I can just tell my inserter, I want 200 of them. And here as well, I want 1,000 belts. I managed to press that the wrong side. 1,000 belts. Thank you. So yeah. So I mean, maybe this is a good idea or not, to just have anything is less than 100, and then at least when you do that, you can set that in various places. If any of the input signals meet the condition, its output will be true. So this is stopped because the total number of items in this chest is more than 100. So that might be a good way to do it, rather than setting each individual item as just saying anything, less just saying anything. So then you only have to set the number and not the limit as well, not the item as well. So you could just say anything is less than 100. Obviously that then fails if you put anything else in the chest. If you just think, oh, I'll just bung that there for a moment. This is now. Any of the input signals. Oh, that's not how that works. Oh, that's sending two separate signals, isn't it? A 100 and a 55. So this will stop working if I put another iron in. It will stop. Is that correct? No? Turns out I don't know how this works. I really thought that's how that would work. Enabled condition, anything less than 100. So why has this one stopped working at 101 exactly? And that stopped working at 1000, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's got 1008 in it now. Disabled by control behaviour. So why has this one stopped? Not stopped, with the iron in it. If I change it to 50 it stops. It's got 64 in. Alright, let me change it to 65. See what happens. It works, and then it stops. If any of the input signals meet the condition, it will output true. It turns out I don't know how that works. I need to look up a tutorial for that. Alright, well that's the basics of them all. And of course there's nothing stopping me if anything doesn't need iron gear wheels, which arguably I probably should have done for this. I probably should have put these on this side, so that I'm not dragging gear wheels across, but it's really not that important. The only other thing I'm probably going to even think about putting in them all is pipes. Can go here, like this. No, pipes should go on the other side, because pipes are built quite quickly, so they need to be fast inserted, so they need to be on this side. So yeah, this should probably be on this side. Inserters should probably be here because those need gear wheels as well. So I'll fix that. I'll fix that. As I say, I did it just very rough and quick just to show you exactly what's going on. I'll tidy it up for my own sanity. Right, thanks for watching. Sorry, it was a bit of a weird one, wasn't it? I got very distracted by the enabled condition. There's anything and there's everything. I suppose everything would be... that would now stop. Yeah. Maybe it's best to use everything and not anything. I still don't understand though why anything less than less than 100 didn't. Oh, I guess it's because it's checking each item individually. Yes, of course. If this were outputting iron plates, then it wouldn't work because there are more than 100 iron plates. But because it's outputting pylons, the pylon signal is only 81. Yes, of course, that's why the difference is. So it's probably best to use anything and not everything. Sorry, the other way around, to use everything and not anything. Yes, right, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, then somehow, I don't know, you must really like Factorio, because I certainly didn't do a good job in today's video. You can like and comment and subscribe and all that jazz. And other than that, I'll see you next time. Bye bye.